Toy With Me. My name is Jerome Montgomery, and I have the honor of serving as the Executive Director of Project VIDA. Toy With Me is our monthly live and live streaming event where we discuss and explore ways of creating a spicier, safer sexual experience through education on the use of adult toys, as well as an exploration of kink and fetish. Here at Toy With Me, we promote sex positivity and embrace all gender-loving communities. Toy With Me events are sponsored and produced by Project VIDA, a nonprofit organization located on the southwest side of Chicago, where we provide a host of low-cost or free services to the community, including behavioral health services, case management services, food pantry services, acupuncture and massage, as well as rental and utility assistance. Once again, we would like to show you how grateful we are by joining us tonight. We encourage you or welcome you to just sit back and enjoy, or join us in the conversation by dropping your questions or comments into the chat, and one of the individuals on screen will be happy to answer your questions. At this time, I would like to ask you to join me in welcoming the gentleman of ONYX Midwest.
Thanks, Jerome. I'm Cariño Blaze ONYX of ONYX Midwest. ONYX was founded in 1995 to bridge men of color to the leather community through education and fraternization. With 10 chapters nationwide, the Midwest chapter serves Chicago, St. Louis, Milwaukee, Des Moines, and other cities in the Midwest. You can visit onyxmidwest.com to learn more. We're proud to partner with Project VIDA for Toy With Me, bringing Kink 101 topics to our community, and we hope you enjoy the show. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Phobos ONYX, and welcome to Toy With Me. Today, we'll be focusing on Tantra. And new to Toy With Me, we have Soulful Doula. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Soulful Doula. My name is Inanna Rose. I am a certified sexologist and a sacred sex doula. I'm also umbanista, which is African spirituality in Brazilian section. I don't know how to describe it, like a shamanism or voodoo, if you will. Yes.
Sounds good. Thank you for coming today. Now, the word of the day is Tantra. Well, how would you pronounce it? I hear some people say Tantra versus Tantra, like tomato, tomato. Is it both?
It could be either or, really.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know. So I don't want to be, saying it wrong. And from what I've read, Tantra literally means woven. And people explore tantric sex as a mean of blending the physical and spiritual aspects of their lives. Tell me, what does Tantra mean to you?
So by definition, it does mean woven. It also means an instrument to expand. So the whole concept of Tantra is to an instrument that expands your consciousness and to help you to reach a state of enlightenment or immortality, to reach your highest divine self.
Okay. That's very interesting, and it sounds pretty deep. How did you even learn about Tantra? Like, did someone teach you? Did you seek it out?
Yes, I went to live in India to be a student of Tantra for some time and yoga philosophy. So when I lived in India, I learned a lot. I had an eye-opening understanding about what Tantra is, and recognizing that this is a lineage and a religion.
Okay. How long you said you were living in India, right? How long were you living there?
I lived there for about almost a month until I got really, really sick.
Oh.
And I had to come home.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, it was a culture shock.
Oh.
But
you got homesick, or did you get really sick?
I got physically sick,
okay,
but also homesick.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a combo that'll get me home too. So if you didn't get sick, how long would you have stayed out there?
It was for almost a month and a half. So I was only 2 weeks short from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was only like a couple of months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sounds good. Meditation and grounding your mind and your body is important. And you know what else is important? To know your status. If you feel like getting tested is not easily possible, we'd like to remind you that Project VIDA has partnered up with Sinai Chicago and is bringing you free testing in the comfort of your own home. All you have to do is scan the QR code or go to the URL on your screen and sign up to receive your free HIV testing kit directly to your house. Once you take the test, call the number provided to them to tell them the results. And then this fun little toy box will be on its way to you. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, form, test, toy box. Brought to you by the Test, Play, Repeat campaign here at Project VIDA. Let me say that again. Test, play, repeat. It's very important. As you can see, you got your size queen, you got your coat, you have your stroker. I think I got all this stuff at home when I got tested. Now let's get into it a little bit more. Tantric sex is usually slow and sensual and revolves around really being in the moment. And that's something I'm really into. How would you suggest someone can begin exploring tantric sex at home, like for beginners?
So Tantra sex is just a misnomer for mindful sex. And I would suggest, synchronizing your breathing with your partner, listening to the heartbeat, because those things are what bring you to the present, which is the whole principle of Tantra, is being present and being in the moment and really mastering that as a skill, because we sometimes don't really understand that being present is definitely something to master, because our mind wants to be in the past or in the future, and we just have, as a human beings, it's a hard time with being present, especially in the society we live in that has a lot of distractions.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up. All the, social media, the phones, the constant notifications. Would you suggest, like, if you're in an environment where you're practicing tantric, would you just turn your phone off completely, put it on vibrate, let everybody know, hey, for the next whatever time, do not contact me. I'm okay. Because, people panic now if you don't pick up the phone.
Sleep mode, put it on whatever mode that it's just not going to bother you. Because the whole concept, the world inside your phone is illusionary. So the whole idea is to be present in the here and now.
Now, speaking of environment, what would you suggest someone new to tantric do to set up their environment to get started? Like, I've heard some things like, I didn't go to a library. I ain't gonna lie to you. I went on YouTube. And I heard that to set up an environment, clean up the house. That's a given. Clean up the space. And I've heard something like burning candles, burning incense. Would you suggest that to people who are just starting, or let them figure that out and kind of try that for themselves eventually?
I would suggest for you to think about it. The partner that you're going to, have a session with is someone that you are going to worship, and that person is going to worship you. So if you think about like a sacred person coming to your house, you're going to clean up your house.
That's right.
You're going to set up the scene. You're going to cook some dinner, some lunch. You're going to put some wine, some champagne. Mm-hmm. You're going to pull out the whole everything to really set up the ambiance and the mood and the energy, and all of that is really based on intention, right? Because you intend to create a sacred space and worship this person, and that is really what we're being mindful of in Tantra, or I'm gonna call it sacred sex or mindfulness, to set your intention.
Okay. What you're describing sounds pretty common, like in movies, but in real life too. You know how they say, put the wine or the champagne in the fridge or whatever, turn the music on, dim the lights, like set the mood. So people do that without even, thinking of tantric sex or tantra, like myself. As I was looking into more things about tantra, I keep saying tantric by itself, but tantric sex and tantra, I was thinking, it's some things that I'm already into, like you said, with the energies and the worshiping. And with me, it's not always about like penetration, physical. It's about being present, like you said, and enjoying each other. Not just enjoying each other's company, sitting next to each other, watching TV, but like really enjoying each other,
Right. It's definitely a moment to, as a sexologist, I talk to my clients a lot about really defining what sex is to them, because sex is not always penetrative, and you get an opportunity to really dive deep into what feels like sex to you. If that is, staring at each other's eyes, or, be present with each other, and all of those like very mindfulness practices.
Well, we kind of already answered it, but can you do Tantra without penetration?
Well, yes. The idea of Tantra is that it is a religion, and in the religion of expanding your consciousness, they have a lot of yoga practices. They worship deities and gods and goddesses, and they have their own rituals to really prepare the mind, the body, the spirit for that expansion of consciousness. And so most of it is doing it by yourself through all of those different modalities like meditation, rituals, offerings, sacrifices. It's very similar to different sects like Santeria, like we spoke about earlier, or Ifa, or Palo, those kinds of what people may call occult systems.
Okay.
They have their own rituals, deities, goddesses, offerings, sacrifices.
Now, when you say sacrifices and offerings, you can have one level where it's like I'm sacrificing this, like at Lent, I'm giving this up, or do you mean like blood sacrifice or financial sacrifice?
Both, all the above.
Okay. Just want to clarify that. I was going to ask you, was it religious? But you already said yes, it is. What is the difference between tantric sex and making love, and the similarities maybe?
Okay, so Tantra, because it is based on the idea of expanding your consciousness, love making becomes this goal of development, personal development, and expanding your consciousness. Where making love can just be, making love with this person. You don't really have this spiritual goal or this ultimate goal of attaining anything. So that's the difference is between the two.
Now, with speaking of which, the difference between making love, you said that there's like not a hierarchy, but like levels to it, like tantric sex. Let's say if it's like a 1 to 10, I'm just throwing that out there. If I'm a 1 and I'm going to practice with someone who's an 8, would that even match, or would we discuss that beforehand? Like I'm beginning, this is my second time, and this person's been doing it for years. Would you recommend that?
You would have to have a consent conversation with this person and what your motive would be, right? Mm-hmm. If this person is trying to teach you so you can further along on your path of understanding Tantra and things like that. But there are instances where if you really have to use a discernment about the people that you do Tantra sex with, because your energy can be siphoned and harvested, and you could leave those sessions feeling drained and tired and not like yourself.
No, so that's needless to say. I was going to say, can you have tantric sex with a casual partner? I feel like you can, but would you recommend it?
If your discernment skills are on point, if you know how to understand someone who is fully embodied in their what they're teaching, if they are in their ego or narcissistic spiritualist, then I would say, okay, you have developed enough discernment to know who not to engage in and who to engage with or not, right? But if you're still learning, I would err on the side of caution.
Yeah, tread lightly. So with that being said, with energies and exchanging energies, what would be some examples of doing so? I heard you earlier say like eye contact. You said like not really breath play, but like breathing exercises. I guess like maybe light touch. What would be some things to be able to transfer this energy?
So there's a practice called Yabium, specifically with partners, and it entails like getting close, like lotus position where you're straddling each other, but close enough to feel your breath, each other's breath, and to synchronize with each other's breathing, and to look into the eyes, because the eyes are the window to the soul. And imagine, using a lot of visualization to imagine energy flowing like a circuit through you and the other person. And what that does is it combines your energy, and it sees if you can feel the energy flow between each other, and makes you sensitive to their energy.
Okay, that's something that I've really been getting into with myself. I guess with a combination of what I do for a living, me exploring more about the leather community, and also getting older. I've always but got into people's energy. I observed them, their mannerisms, how they treat other people, the expressions on their face. when certain keywords come up, if they roll their eyes, I just observe, and then I get into their energy interacting with them. At least I thought I was. But as I was looking up Tantra, I kind of gotten into that. With the level of intimacy, when you said like synchronizing your breathing, when I'm laying next to someone, I kind of get into how they're breathing, especially if they're, snoring. I have no choice but to get into the breathing. But I even go further and get into like if I can hear their heartbeat. I'm not seeking it, but when I do notice it, it's something that I really get into. Would you say that that's related to Tantra?
Yeah, it's
okay.
Like remembering that Tantra really is being interchanged now in the Western world as mindfulness, right?
Okay.
So those things are being very mindful of, the energy of somebody, and being in tune to their rhythm and their energy.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation. There's so much I want to learn. But well, let's go back to breath play really briefly. There's a form of breath play I was introduced to with like I breathe in, you breathe out, and then eventually we have this rhythm where we're basically like sharing a lung, not sharing a lung, but sharing the same air going back and forth. Would that be under the tantric umbrella? Okay.
Anything where you're synchronizing or exchanging breath, because breath represents in Tantra life force energy.
Okay.
So it's the whole reason why we exist.
Okay.
Is because of breath. So anything that is exchanging breath or listening to a heartbeat, which is another tool of why we are here and we are able to exist. If you tune into those things, you are practicing mindfulness. Oh. Yeah.
Okay. And beyond the heartbeat, like even like just some people might think it's disgusting, but like how you hear your stomach and you hear things just moving around. It's just, I don't know, to me it just represents life. Like we're not even paying attention to that. But if you turn everything off and you can hear the bodily functions, it's not a turn on, but it's just something that just really appeals to, that just draws me to it.
Yeah, it is a turn on because it means that you're deeply curious, right? That you're curious about everything that is going on with me in the present moment.
Yeah.
In the here and now.
Inside and out.
Right, inside and out.
I like that. I really like that because I pride myself in being a very deep person. I mean, sometimes, we all can be shallow, but when I go deep is, that's why that's why I asked the question about with a casual partner, would you want to explore that? I personally feel like I don't want to because that's the type, I don't want to give my energy or just take just anyone's energy. So, but now as we get ready for an audience demo here, we'd like to remind you that you can revisit old broadcasts, suggest future shows, and get your free toy box on our new page at projectvida.org/toywithme, no spaces. And speaking of the toy box, here's a little more about it with a video from Mount Sinai. Let's check it out.
Hey, Michelle, what are you doing tonight?
Hey, Eric. Project VIDA is doing the Toy With Me party on Zoom.
Nice. What's that all about?
They focused on different sex-positive topics, and they're going to be offering free home HIV testing kits through Sinai Infectious Disease Center.
HIV home test kits? How does that work?
So they're going to share a link in the chat where you can sign up to get your home test kit.
Okay, I've been wanting to get tested, but I didn't really want to leave the house.
I feel you. You just give them your contact info, and someone from Sinai will contact you to send out your free home HIV testing kits. They'll put it in an unmarked box to your mailbox.
Okay, then I do the test by myself? This sounds kind of difficult.
It's not that hard. Once you get the test kit, it's pretty easy. Just follow the step-by-step directions, and you'll get your results in about 20 minutes. Let Sinai know that you took the test and what your results were, and you can even call them and they'll walk you through it. Sinai will then contact Project VIDA to let them know that you took the test, and they'll send you out a complimentary gift bag.
Can they also help me access PrEP and any other sexual health needs?
Yeah, of course. Sinai partner up with Project VIDA to provide sexual health education, prevention tools, and medical treatment to the community. And they have lots of services too.
Sounds awesome. I definitely want to go and get tested at home, and I'll do the Toy With Me party too.
Speaking of the toy box, I would like to remind some of our audience, well, all of you all in the audience, you can get tested today. I lead by example. I'm getting mine done too. So now it's time for Just the Tip. This year's Just the Tip is brought to you by our audience facilitators.
Antonio here, your audience facilitator. We are online and in person. So Toy With Me is filmed in front of a live studio audience, and that could be you. So come and join us for the next tour with me. Our tip of the week is patience and persistence. So Tantra is a lifelong process. Remember to practice and to be patient with yourself. Progress is not always linear. So just make sure to be open to exploring that. And always remember, communication and consent are key.
Thank you, Antonio. I have a couple of questions. Wow, you folks at home that are watching, go ahead and type those questions up. We can answer them. You people in the audience, you do the same. Think of some questions. Let Antonio know. We'll get those questions answered. But I have a couple more questions. What are some ways you would get into the headspace for Tantra? I know earlier we were talking about, in general, when you're getting into like a headspace for anything intimate, you like to have a playlist. Would you do that for Tantra as well?
Definitely. A playlist, like I said, is mandatory.
Yeah, you did say that.
It really just sets the vibe, and music takes you places.
It
so
does.
if you can curate where you want your music to take you to, then I would do it. But also, I would also do your own meditation to be acclimated with your own energy, so that you can feel what your energy feels like, and then feel what their energy feels like when you do engage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're talking about energy. Do you recommend you exploring yourself and you can do Tantra by yourself, right?
Yeah, most of Tantra is designed to be by yourself.
Okay.
Only 5% of Tantra is focused on sex.
Okay, so would you say master yourself first, or get to a certain level and be able to practice with other people?
Absolutely. You should, in all things that you do in life, master yourself first.
Okay.
Master your emotions, master your own energy, and master learning how to create discernment, all of those things for yourself.
I know it would probably vary from person to person, but how long did it take for you to get to that level to where you feel like you were able to share and exchange energy with someone else?
It took me about 15 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You
And
said it's lifelong.
yes. I mean, you also have to experience life lessons. You have to be thrown into the ring of fire.
You got to mature a little bit.
Yeah, you got to mature. You got to experience what it feels like to engage with the wrong type of people. You got to learn your lessons sometimes the hard way.
Yeah, you got to get a little close to that fire without getting burned. Well, not getting burned too hard, Yeah. Speaking of, multiple people being involved, is it common for, what I heard, I don't want to, say the word and be derogatory, but orgies. Is it common for people to do that?
I think that it's more of a Western perception, because Tantra is really not focused on sex as much as we think it is.
Okay.
It's more so focused on our personal development and expanding our consciousness. And so orgies can happen, just like anything else in life could happen, But if it still maintains the integrity of being able to focus and being in the present. So it really is depending, it has different textures, nuances, there's a lot that could go into that. Yeah.
Now, I was talking to someone this weekend about Tantra, like briefly, and he was telling me that orgies can happen, and they do happen, but you kind of got to set the rules in the beginning, because it can happen without penetration. And some people are there for the intimacy, the energy without the penetration. And it's always that one or two people that want to put something in something. So would you recommend like any other session, any other interaction, having setting lack of better words, rules beforehand?
I know what you mean. So yeah, definitely before any session, Tantra or not, there should be a conversation about consent and what it is that you want to experience and what it is that you don't want to experience. So consent is a really deep part of it. Otherwise, you're just going to be tensed up the whole time trying to figure out if somebody going to stick something in you or not, So, yeah.
And it's, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't,
Right,
sometimes you just want to. But I had another question. Oh, you mentioned sacred sexuality. That is a term that I've heard a lot when I was doing my, I guess you could say, research. I didn't go to a library. I went to YouTube, but it is 2024. So when I was doing my research, What is something, is that universal? Is that a Western term, or is that from the origins of?
So sacred sexuality is a Western term. It's a new age concept because Tantra is ancient. Like, it's very, 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 very old. So sacred sexuality takes ancient philosophies and schools of thoughts and takes cherry picks from different ancient, like Taoism and Tantra and different things. And then what you have is now sacred sexuality. And the reason why New Age is New Age is because those lineages like Tantra, specifically Tantra, entail somebody to be initiated, to practice, right? Because then it would become cultural appropriation to take somebody's lineage and try to practice it without going through the rites of passage, without going through initiation.
Now, what, I'm going to ask, so what is the rite of passage? What is the initiation?
Well, everybody's different occult has their own system. Sometimes it could be like making sacrifices, blood sacrifices, or worshiping the deities or the goddesses, creating a lifetime pact with that deity and that goddess or god energy. So they all have different initiation rites or passages. Like Ifa, like you have to shave your head.
Okay. So it is that's variety.
Yes.
Now those are pretty deep. Sacrificing your hair, sacrificing blood, Can it be as light as like just a mentorship, someone that's passing the torch to you, teaching you, or do you have to do something that's deeper than that and beyond yourself, like letting go of all of your hair?
I mean, there are resources available for you that offer you the basic principles of Tantra, which is a lot to work with already. Like, it's a lot to master with just the principles that are offered, because that whole being present thing, it sounds like easy, but it's, when it comes into practice, it's a practice, right? So there is already a lot to work with the principles that we have access to here in the Western world. And then with that being said, there are a lot of Western practitioners who want to sell you Tantra, but you can't be sold Tantra because it's a lineage.
Not
right?
to be sold.
Yes.
You know, bring anything to the West, they always want to put some money in their pocket. I swear. So I definitely believe that. And as usual, we'd like to bring you some important announcements. Next Toy With Me is streamed live on the third Sunday of every month. Our next stream will be at the Project VIDA Wellness Center on St. Louis and 26th Street in Little Village. We will have more seats for a live audience, which thank y'all for coming today. Y'all are right there looking good. Free testing, and looking forward to seeing you here and hear from you in our live chat. Just remind y'all, hit us up if you're watching. To check all of our events out, you can go to projectvida.org/events and onyxmidwest.com/onyx-calendar. Now, before we go, it's time for our live Q&A. I hope y'all thought of some questions out there. Y'all too. Where we answer your questions from the chat and our social media pages. So, Antonio, got any questions for us?
Hey, Phobos and audience at home. This is Antonio, your audience facilitator. Y'all can just raise your hand if y'all have any questions for the host or Phobos. And we had some questions already come in. So how is Tantra and BDSM, how can those be applied together, or can they?
So in Tantra, there is what you call dark Tantra, which encompasses BDSM, to kind of dive into your own shadows and dive into the psychology of your ego and the ways that your ego shows up. And BDSM is a way to really bring those things to the surface in dark Tantra to create personal development, to know who you are on a deeper level.
That sounds very interesting. Now, my imagination kind of ran off a little bit. Would it be involving like tying up someone, constricting them, and also,
It involves all the things that are considered taboo.
Okay.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
So can Tantra be applied to all couples? So gay, lesbian, straight, how does that differ?
If you're breathing and you got a heart, it can apply to you.
Oh, I heard that.
We have an audience question.
Hi, this question is from Quay. My understanding of tantric or tantra sex is like non-physical sex. Is it only non-physical?
No, it's not always non-physical. You can curate your tantra session to become whatever you want it to be, but the emphasis is based on connecting to that person's spirit and their energy through breath and their heartbeat, which could include penetration. It doesn't have to include penetration because, like I said before, sex is whatever you make it. So whatever sex is to you is sex.
So building off that question, you can do Tantra only being able to breathe through the nose, if you know what I mean.
Wait,
Oh,
wait, hold up.
if you know, can you do it only breathing through your nose if your mouth is unavailable? At the
Okay,
moment.
I gotta tell you something about that. So I'm gonna go off on a tangent just a little bit, okay? Because there is this society that's called the White Tiger Society that teaches you how to breathe out your mouth while you're giving like head, right? And it's called Breath of the Dragon, right? And the idea the idea is to create, this energy circulation breathing out your nose, but also through the breath of the dragon so that this person can feel the fire that comes through your breath on their genitalia.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
I got so much to
Or
look
wherever
up now.
you want to place the breath of fire. Right? Yeah.
We had another audience question.
I forgot that question.
I said, hold on. Processing.
We ready. Okay, so how do you separate yourself from someone who you've built a tantra or tantric connection with?
I love that question.
How do you separate
How do you disconnect from them, I guess? Or is it like how you wash yourself of their energy? Is that what
You separate from them even if on their end it's over, but you just separate yourself.
I love that question.
So the idea is that you and this person become one, right? And
Yeah,
but you're
like
not
break
one
up
no
with
more.
them.
So you should. There is a thing called spiritual hygiene, and every day, just like you take a shower or you brush your teeth, that in some sort of a way that you have hygiene for yourself spiritually, whether you do like Florida water or sage or meditation or something to cleanse your own energy so that the energy that is with you is just your energy. And that is something that you do every day, partnered up or not. So spiritual hygiene.
Great question.
So just to follow up, if you all are becoming one and that's the energy that's now melded together to one, how do you separate that energy to become two or separate?
You could do a ritual, like if you're talking about some deep, like
Yes.
Okay, so there are rituals. I would probably seek assistance with somebody who has experience with doing those type of rituals, but you can do it yourself. Just creating, there's this like 2 candles, tying a rope around it and watching the candles burn down. Like you write the name of the person on one candle, you write your name on the other candle, and then you tie a rope around it so that when the candle burns down, the rope burns. And that means energetically that tie between you and that person has burned away. It is released, and you are doing a detoxing of this energy from your energy.
So basically a ritual to unbind each other
Yes.
symbolically.
Yeah.
I have a question off of your question. Now, even without spiritual hygiene, can someone else's energy just fade away, like start to just fall off of you, or is it just going to stay?
No, you might experience like hearing this person's voice while you're trying to do something,
Or maybe smelling their scent or something
smelling
like that,
their
even if it's not there?
scent. You might have dreams about this person a lot. You might, because there's a connection there energetically. It may not affect you in the ways that are like detrimental to your health, but it'll affect you, like you hearing this person's voice while you just trying to do some basic thing.
Yeah.
It could be annoying.
I've been there.
Yeah, right.
Didn't even know what was going on. smell that person, haven't seen them in years, and oh my God, okay.
You had also talked about discernment and people siphoning energy. I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit more about that and maybe some things that people can spot for themselves if, you know, they're coming in contact with that, so they know to stay away from that, or just more perspective on that.
For sure. You can always vet the person that you are going to engage with. And vetting them is, you know, trying to see if, you know, they're open to meeting first, or I don't know, it depends how you're meeting the person, right? But if they want to meet first to have a conversation about consent, right? See how they feel about consent. You want to see, you know, ask them questions to see if they take accountability. Like if you say, well, what was your role in their last relationship and why it ended, right? And if the person says, they was crazy, they just buck wild, they just, you know, did all this stuff and it's just them, right? So you want to see if this person is actually, you know, takes accountability enough that they can be responsible with their energy enough to be able to share it with somebody else. So there are questions to kind of just vet people. There are endless questions. So that's one of them. Yes.
You had also talked about breath work, listening to your partner's heartbeat, synchronizing breaths. What are some tips that folks can take home right now and at home that they could practice with their partner?
With their partner, I would definitely recommend Yabium. It's just where you straddle each other in a seated position and just match each other's breathing. And you can put your forehead to each other's forehead and just listen to the breath and the movement and the sounds, like you said, that's coming off of your body. And you can look it up. It's called Yabium.
How do you spell that? Because I want to look it up. I was going to ask you that.
It's Yabyum.
Okay.
My question is, with Tantra, would you say that's something that comes with the person, such as like BDSM and or polyamory, or is that something that builds up in that specific relationship?
Oh, that is kind of long. I'm trying to pinpoint. Is Tantra something are you saying that is Tantra something that's always there?
Like just sex? Is it a sexuality?
Oh,
or is
I
it
see what
just
you're
sex?
saying. Okay.
Like,
So is Tantra like a sexuality, or is it just sex, as in like some people are into BDSM with sex like that, right?
something I should. So let me. Is it something like? Let's say I get with the person. Is it something I should expect, or is it something that like? Yeah, like that they're gonna wanna. Okay, we're close enough. Now we can do this.
So,
or is it something
Tantra in this lens, it just means mindfulness. So you can, if you want to experience more mindful sex with someone, you can say, so are you into this like mindful sex? You want to do that? You know?
Are you saying it's something that you bring to the forefront, like when you, before you even like get intimate or think about, you tell them, hey, I'm into tantric sex, let's start from there? Or are you saying get to know them and then later on? Okay, is this something that you bring up later or earlier in conversation?
I mean, if that's your focal point, you
is that something that you, is that something that could turn people off, or is that something that you on the first date, not even a date, a hookup? Let's pretend.
I mean, I would bring it up because if that's, for me, that's really all the type of sex I want to engage in anyway. So I would bring it up on first basis, just to see if they're open to that type of thing and if we're in alignment with each other, you know. Otherwise, you two are gonna be on two different pages if that's what you want, and they don't even know anything about it, you know.
That leads me to a quick question. Is that something you could turn on and off? Like one partner, you like, okay, tantric sex, that's something that I want to do with them, but then you see someone else and you can interact with them and not involve tantric. Is this something that you eventually, like you said, that's the only kind of interactions you want to have?
Right.
But are you able to switch and turn it on and off?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. You can go have tantric sex with one person and just have buck wild sex with another person.
Okay.
I mean, it really, there's no, I mean, Tantra involves intention. Like, you got to really put the intention and the work and all of this into it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, have you found it? This is a personal question. Have you found it difficult to like have a one night stand and have transitive sex, or is that like something you're like, okay, with this person, I feel that I could have this type of sex with them, so I'm gonna engage, or have somebody deny you because like, oh, I don't want to have that type. I'm not trying to get all deep and breathe with you.
Oh.
So I do think it's a little difficult just because for my personal like disposition, I had to work through a lot of trust issues. So to have tantric sex on a first time basis wasn't something that works for me, because it takes a lot of time for me to really establish, one, if I like this person, if this person, you know, safe. Like, do I think that their energy, they're going to siphon how am I going to feel when this is all over? What's that?
Do you have one night stands?
No, I don't. Not no more.
Oh.
Not anymore.
I know that's right.
To kind of piggyback on that, so if you're feeling somebody and this is something you're interested in, what is the most simplistic way that you can introduce it to your partner? Like, what's the most simplest way that you can say, hey, this is what I'm into, would you be interested in doing that?
Now, are you saying a partner that you already have that doesn't know that you might be interested in it, or someone that, okay.
Well, I would probably come through with a book, right, about Tantra, and be like, have you ever heard of this? Like, you interested in trying it? Mm-hmm. And then, you know, we could have a conversation around it. And if they seem excited, you know, then I would be like, let's plan it. Like, let's do this on this day and try this on this day, you know?
I really like how you said introduce it with a book, because it's like they can take your word for it all day long, but where are you getting your information from? And you bring this book, it's like, here, you see that? Mm-hmm. I like that.
So you can't have hot or wild Tantra sex.
What's that?
You can't have who? Like hot and wild? Like,
you can't have hot and wild in Tantra. It is slow, but that doesn't mean that it can't be hot and wild.
oh, so you saying hot and wild doesn't always mean fast.
Right. Fast. Right. It doesn't have to be, it can all be interchangeable with each other.
Ooh.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think it'd get me hot and wild. Exploring Tantra.
I'm just making sure it's for me now. Okay. Just to go back to your previous statement on you not having tantric or tantra one night stands any longer, is that because I know you said you had trust issues, so is that something that you had to work through? Is that something that you had to kind of develop yourself to get past? And how did you get yourself past that in order to even do the one night stands and know now at this point you don't want to do them any longer?
I had to establish what safety means to me. I had to work through, what does safety mean to me? Because what is my triggers? Outside of finding safety in someone, how do I just feel safe, period, right? How can I feel safe, period? And why have I allowed myself to feel unsafe with others? What has happened through the trajectory of my life that caused me to feel unsafe? And then I've tied that into a lot of codependency issues, me wanting to earn someone's love without thinking that I don't need to earn people's love. I am enough as I am, right? So I had to do a lot of internal work to establish who I am and what safety is. Just me being safe, period, outside of another person. Yes.
How can someone who shares so many partners and be like, oh, how can I share tantric experience with somebody when I can't even connect with someone?
So if I'm having problems, I'm skipping from partner to partner, and I want to get into Tantra. Like you said, I believe what you're going to say is it start with yourself first. Am I right?
Well, I need to understand the question a little better.
Oh, like, okay.
Okay. Have a tantric experience, but be
Promiscuous?
yes.
So promiscuous to me is a
Let's not say promiscuous. Let's say a shared tantric experience.
you can have a shared tantric experience with anyone regardless of their history.
Mm-hmm.
History is in the past. Tantra is in the now, here and now. It's being present.
I feel like a tantric experience seems very like in depth.
Wait, hold on.
The experience that we're experiencing might not be but for a couple minutes.
So you hopping from partner to partner, getting that deep with Tantra. Can that be detrimental? Like,
If it
to the average
depends, are
person?
you engaging in Tantra for your ego? Or are you engaging in Tantra for spiritual development?
I know that's right.
Because if you are just hopping from Tantra partner to Tantra partner, then you are not doing it from a place of spirit. You're doing it from a place of ego because you want something fulfilled, or something is void inside of you that you are trying to fulfill.
Like you mentioned earlier, narcissist.
Yes.
Now, I think that being a sexual being and a sexual spirit and sharing yourself sexually with other people, you might be expressing yourself in a different way. Thus, this is a different way of experience a sexual experience tantrically. And I was wondering if that could be experienced in a way that it could be spread.
In a poly situation? Yes, of course. Of course you can experience that in a poly situation.
I feel like a lot of people won't be open to that because of the non-lengthy time limit of the time spent with each other.
No, the basis of this is in your intention. And if everybody is given the consent and everybody is determined to work on the same page as far as spirit is concerned, then why not?
It's just hard to get people in.
It is hard. So that's the task. The task is to get everybody on the same page.
And like you said earlier, all these distractions we got.
Yes.
That's another thing.
Another question about.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask a question about.
I wasn't finished. Another question about spirituality. Is Tantra as a practice compatible, like if somebody's Christian or Buddhist, or if they have some other higher power? Can they practice Tantra alongside their other religion?
I really love your question. So like I said before, Tantra is a lineage. It's a religion. So as a Christian person practicing Tantra, it's contradictory. And because you are culturally appropriating somebody else's religion and practicing things that you don't know the entirety of, because it does involve deity worship, sacrifices, and just experiences that you can only experience once you are initiated in that lineage. However, you can practice the basic principles of Tantra, right? That I said before, that is available to everyone. That does not need to be, you don't need to go through initiation. And those things are, just learning how to be present, learning how to be in the here and now, mastering yourself. Those are like very basic principles that anybody can work with. But in the deeper esoteric nature of Tantra, that belongs to Tantra.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have one more question for you. You have a lot of knowledge. Do you share it on social media? Do you have any social media platforms you want to share with the audience so they can follow you?
Yeah, my social media is soulful.doula on Instagram. And I talk a lot about these things on there. And I offer sacred sexuality one-on-one courses. And I work with people one-on-one who want to merge spirit with their sexuality.
Okay, cool.
Right.
I'm definitely going to hit your Instagram when we get it. So I just want to remind everyone, first of all, thank the audience for being here.
Thank you.
You all at home, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Wonderful conversation. Remember, y'all, to follow at Project VIDA Inc., INC, and ONYX Midwest on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, on Instagram, and look for our stories and posts on upcoming shows, topics, and call for questions. Even if the show isn't happening, hey, slide in them DMs. I got a question. We will answer the questions you send at the end of the show and every month. Now, after each of these shows, audience members have the opportunity to test right here, like I said earlier, and I'm leading by example, so I'm gonna go ahead and knock mine out. At Project VIDA, we provide you with a short form to fill out, and then one of our certified testers conducts testing of your choosing, such as for HIV, syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia. And one of our prevention staff will reach out with the results. And don't forget, you can set up an appointment to come in Monday through Saturday from 9 to 6 p.m., 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. for a walk-in test using the number on your screen. Thank you for watching Tour with me. Thank you for being here, and we will see y'all next time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.